Thank you for tuning in to the Afternoon Pint. This episode is sponsored by Camilla Najat of Exit Realty, Strategy Up Business Consultants, and ISS Atlantic Security Guard Services. Enjoy the show. Hello, listeners, and welcome to this special edition of Afternoon Pint. Today we'll be speaking with candidates for the federal riding of Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada.
Yes, our hometown. We're bringing back the bucket of democracy for a second time to pull random questions and get to know our candidates a little bit better. We started this process when the by-election was called, and this is the only group that we'll be speaking to before the 2025 election.
Without further ado, grab your pints and your popcorn as we talk on some of Canada's biggest issues. Enjoy. Welcome to the Afternoon Pint. Who are we here with?
You're here with Shannon Miedema, the Liberal candidate for the Halifax riding for the federal election.
Cheers,
Cheers.
Shannon.
Cheers.
Shannon.
So, we got a few questions for you before we get into our big bucket of democracy.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Let's go.
All right, so let's start off with your road into politics. What's your story? Tell us about, where you came from and why you're coming into politics.
Yeah, I'm new into politics, and I never thought I'd grow up to be a politician, so I'll start with that. I have been working for the city for the last 15 years. I'm the Director of Environment and Climate Change there, so working really closely with communities across the Halifax Regional Municipality, across levels of government, with the private sector, industry, the public, academics, NGOs, to really try and drive positive change for our community. And I've hung out with a lot of politicians over the years and started to kind of think about politics in the fall as a way that I could scale my impact and do even more good for our city that I love so much. So started to have some conversations back then, and here I am.
Awesome. Yeah. So I guess that's a really good segue into the next question of so what are some major objectives that Haligonians need representation for on a federal level?
Well, I think Haligonians need representation across whatever their interests and concerns and values are. And from my perspective, the role of a member of parliament is to do that, is to listen and reflect and advocate and be a strong voice for Halifax at the government table, right? And I've been able to do that in a smaller way in the job that I've had here in Halifax. I get to champion the great work and the great people of Halifax across the country. I've done it internationally. And it's one of my absolute favorite things to do. And I think I could do a great job for us in Ottawa.
Awesome. Oh, I like that. And what values do you think that you and your party leader, align with the most? So now that we know Mark Carney is the Liberal leader, so yeah, what do you think you guys align the most on?
Mm-hmm, yeah, so because I was kind of considering this, I came to the Liberal Party thoughtfully and have been pleased with what I've seen the party do over the last number of years on things I really care about, like strong climate policy, like actual progress on truth and reconciliation, social progress, equity, prioritizing vulnerability, while still focusing on economy and other important issues. So, I think it's the party that most closely aligns with my values and, yeah.
Okay. All right. So why should we vote for Shannon?
Well, what we've been hearing at the doors, because we were in a by-election since March the 2nd, so we actually had
get a longer election process.
That's right. We had a 3-week head start here in Halifax compared to the rest of the country.
Yeah.
And so it's been a great education to actually hear what is top of mind for folks and what are we hearing most. And really what we're hearing almost every door is fear and concern and sorrow for what's happening between the Canada-U.S. relationship, and really some relief and some optimism that Carney is now at the helm of the Liberal Party, and thinking that might be a strong choice for Canada in navigating Trump and tariffs, and figuring out how to build a resilient economy that's less intertwined with our American counterpart. I've been pleased with the strong approach that the party's taken so far, and the things that they're rolling out kind of every day or so. really trying to figure out how to, number one, try and stop the tariffs in the first place. Number two, have retaliatory tariffs and then take that money and use it to help people right now that are getting impacted. And number three, let's not ever let this happen again. Let's not be asleep at the wheel. Let's find new markets and new ways of running our country.
No, that's great. And last thing, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to tell people about you. Where are you from? Let people know who you are as a person, not just the politician.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks. And I actually find that the hardest question to answer, funny enough, letting people in. But no, I grew up in Ottawa, and I am the oldest of three siblings. I did my undergrad at Queen's University. Environment's always been my long-standing passion, so I did environmental science there. And I came to Halifax to go to Dalhousie to do my master's. My now husband, came to do law school at Dalhousie, and we fell in love with Halifax. I'm a quarter Newfoundlander. My grandmother was born and raised in Newfoundland, so I kind of feel, I'm not the 100% come from away, maybe. Also, I've been here for 23 years, and we used to travel out east every couple of summers and visit our relatives in Newfoundland. I love this part of the country. I love Atlantic Canada, and having worked for the city, I love the community. I love the history. I love that we're a port city. I love that we have all these things going on, and we're just the right size. We have. You'll always see someone at the market or at a concert, but you don't know everybody, right? It's the perfect size for me. So my husband and I decided to make our lives here. We have three kids that we're raising. They're 14, 12, and 8. So busy. The husband is a lawyer. He owns his own law firm. And we love camping, everything outdoors. We have a 4-year-old border collie that keeps us on our toes, and just love traveling. And it's been really great. Yeah, so the kids are blue nosers.
Sounds like you got a busy life.
Yeah, but a great but busy life.
I've always said that when someone leaves their home and chooses to make my home their home, that's what bigger compliment can you possibly get?
Well, that's what I think. So great, yeah.
All right.
So I think that's a good little kind of intro to who you are, and I think what's best for anyone who's listening to the show is we move right into the bucket of democracy. Anyone who has listened to our mayor debate, quote unquote debate show.
So to the listener right now, we have a bucket of democracy, too, very crudely written in black marker here, and it says Fed MP edition at the bottom. So this is an assortment of random questions that are very relevant right now in this time. If you're voting in the next election, you might be interested in some of the answers we're about to pull here. So we're going to pull them at random. Question number 1. Oh, and you get points.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
You get points.
Judging me on this?
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, have you ever?
Nobody told me that part.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever watched Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
We award points, but they don't really count.
Okay. Great.
Yeah. We just got to give random points.
Okay.
All right, and we call you out if you don't answer the question.
Yeah.
Other than that, we're really nice. Okay. Given that some countries own their natural resources, which can result in the wealth of their nation, would you support the government getting involved with owning and selling its resources? I can reread that if I read that weird.
No, I think I got it. I was just kind of questioning whether we do or don't own our resources right now. Unless I misunderstood the question.
Yeah, I guess it's really more. This is more of a trade question, Matt.
I would say the intention of when
exporting
we were talking
resources?
to people. So when we were talking, and also actually tuning the government act, because we have businesses that go in and mine and own those resources essentially and sell them off.
What you're saying,
yeah. Okay. So it would be more like Canada is now the oil company type of thing.
So
or whatever.
What I will say is that Canada has long been an export economy, and we have been blessed with a bounty of natural resources. And I think that they get used and profited from in different ways. I think at this time that we're in right now, it's really important for us to be thinking of ways to grow our export economy in a fashion that doesn't set us back on other priorities. So I would like to see us focus on wind resource. You know, Halifax, Nova Scotia has a massive offshore wind resource and a great onshore wind resource. And I really think that that's something that we can use for our own benefit. We can also grow our export economy on that. There's lots of work going on there now. There's the potential for it to actually create a green hydrogen market, and that's something that a lot of people are talking about in Europe and Canada and everywhere. And we can be leaders in this space, and we can grow kind of an entire sector with good jobs and good money in things like that. I don't presume to know about mineral rights in any great detail, so I'm not going to comment on that.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I'll give you the point.
Yeah, I think
there you go. We get the point.
Okay, 1 point? Okay, fine. I'll try harder next time.
You only get 1 point.
You only get 1 point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you get the point or you don't get
I was like, is max 5?
Yeah,
Like, what are we going for?
No,
here?
no.
Yeah.
We've given half points, full points, or no points.
Okay.
Oh, we did get a half point. You're right. Yeah.
We've given half points. Yeah.
You already gave me the full, so.
There you go. Can't take it back now. So what policies can a government implement to have the House function in a more kind manner? As we know, it can be a bit chaotic and not so kind.
That's a really great question. I do know that there are ethics, written ethics, things that people abide to. Even in a campaign, you have to sign on that you're going to abide by the campaign rules as a candidate. And I think that's really important, right? Like, this is not a time to be name calling and acting like bullies and acting like children. We really need to be adults here. We need to be professional, and we need to have constructive and collaborative conversation. If there are any ways for the House to increase its ability to enforce that level of expectation and respect, I think that would be wonderful. I think we definitely need to change that the tune.
Point awarded.
Yeah, I like it. Oh, it's your turn.
Keep going here. We'll keep moving along here. See how many points you can get.
Okay.
All
Competition. I love it.
All right. What does responsible immigration look like to you?
Yeah, good one. I think responsible immigration is immigration into our country in a way that enables the people coming in to thrive. So they need housing, they need infrastructure, they need education, they need jobs, while not disadvantaging the people that are here, right? It's just a balanced consideration. And, you know, we need newcomers, we need immigrants. I think they add to what it is to be Canadian. I think they add to the rich fabric of Canada. We are wonderfully multicultural, and I think that, you know, it always helps. I think I look at my children and they don't even see diversity in the way that we did in my generation, or let alone in my parents' generation. Like, I think it's wonderful what's happening in that respect. It's just we need to make sure that we want everybody to thrive as Canadians, regardless of whether they're new or have been here for generations.
You happy with that one?
I think it's really good.
All right, perfect. Let's keep going.
That kind of goes back to the whole compliment that I say when someone chooses my home to be their home. It's ultimate compliment.
There you go.
Right?
Love it.
All right, so next one here is, should healthcare be fully taken over by the federal government, or it'll be left for the provinces to manage?
That's a tricky one. I would say that one of the things that's the hardest to manage in Canada, which is also part of the beauty of Canada, is that we have jurisdictional divide across levels of government on really important issues, and often a shared responsibility or a shared mandate. It happens in healthcare, it happens in housing, it happens in environment, it happens across a lot of considerations. And I think what we need is really good, strong, clear understanding of whose role and responsibility what is, and to make sure that the funding gets where it needs to be. And I do think, you know, at times it's important for the federal government to step in if there's something of national import that really needs to be, that all provinces and territories need to get on board with. I think that is an important role for the federal government. I think that the Liberal Party has done that in some instances recently.
If you can speak a little bit further on that, deeper, is because do you think that we could almost see a more fair distribution of doctors throughout the country if the feds just took that over?
I don't know what the answer is.
That's
on
fair.
that.
That's a fun answer.
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how that would play out. I don't think that would help the relationship between the federal government and the provinces and territories because of that jurisdictional divide. I do think we need to keep finding solutions to deal with the major healthcare issues that we have here.
No, that's fair. That's a fair answer.
Also good.
That's a hard question. No, I think
That's a real tough question.
That's a very tough hard. Yeah, it's a very hard question.
No, we like the questions with no no winning answer. You know, they're the fun ones to answer.
Yeah.
Okay. This question here: where do you stand on medical assisted death or MAID?
Where do I stand on it? As personally, I think it's an important piece of the progress that we're making in healthcare. I've heard lots of different individual stories, and I think it's really important. It's also needing really careful policy so that it doesn't get misused or misdirected. And I would say we're still in really early stage of having this ability and this legislation, and it needs a lot of people kind of at the table making sure that it works for everybody.
This episode is brought to you by Camilla Najat with Exit Realty Metro.
Camilla Najat is an experienced real estate agent who prides herself in finding the perfect home for her clients. Camilla can help you with a comparative market analysis to help determine the value of your home if you're planning on selling, or help you determine the going rate for the neighborhood you're moving into. She can also work with you at your pace.
You can reach Camilla by calling 902-880-8429 or email camilla@exitmetro.ca.
Also, you can find her on Facebook at Camilla Najat, Exit Realty Metro. No, that's good.
That was quick.
That was quick.
Point?
Yeah, it's good. As long as, I think it's... They're going to get points if they answer them.
I know.
I'm going to be sad if I don't get 100%, you guys.
You're doing you're quite the keener. You should see how slow the mayors were. Oh, my gosh. You're way ahead of them.
Way ahead. Yeah, the mayor's answered
all
like
the
4 or 5 questions.
Yeah, except for Zoran. He was not.
Oh, he went through them pretty
He was
quick,
a
yeah.
machine.
Yeah.
Okay. Will your government help remove and expedite the barriers with interprovincial trading? Say yes.
Well, yes. Yes, I can say that because it's already been said also by Prime Minister Carney. And I just keep wondering why we haven't done it sooner. But I think that's kind of what a lot of Canadians are reflecting on right now. Is,
100%.
We got a little bit asleep at the wheel, reliant on our southern partner, and now we understand what that can do.
There is another side of it, though, that it could choke out some smaller local businesses. Now, I've heard this. I don't know if this is true or not. Have you heard about that? Like, do you have concerns there?
Well, I've spoken to several small, medium businesses and different industries, and I haven't heard anything negative about the idea. All I've heard is, like, we've been asking for this forever. Mm-hmm. We really want this. We feel positive about it. Now, of course, it will depend on how this happens, like what the details are, but I think we have a great opportunity.
Yeah, love it. Quick point. There you go.
No, that's good. All right, so this is a you question. So Shannon, the person, gets elected, what is the first cause that you want to fight for to implement?
The first cause.
Yeah, like what's near and dear to your heart that you're going to go in there and you're going to be like, listen, Prime Minister Carney, this is what I want. I got a strong mandate and this is what I want for my people.
All right.
Yeah.
So outside of navigating what is critical to deal with first, like Trump, tariffs, economy, etc., obviously my passion issue is climate and environment, and always has been and will always be. And I, it's funny because working for the city, trying to drive climate action, try to better prepare our communities for like what we saw in 2023, right? Like floods and hurricanes and fires. Like, we need to be resilient to those things to reduce loss in those situations and be able to rebound as quickly as possible. That takes that actually touches on social considerations, economic considerations, and the plan we brought forward is good for people, good for the economy, and good for the environment. And I think that the conversation around climate really is shifting to show that if we do climate action in the right way, we're actually supporting all these other key issues. We have amazing economic development opportunities if we act on climate. We can prevent loss, like we're seeing in the insurance industry, which you well know,
we talked about that,
with extreme weather events, right? Like it has to be done, and I think we can do it in a way as we're like trying to solve these other issues, like the Trump tariffs. We can think about ways to progress on other key issues in Canada. And I'm really passionate about that. I think that there's lots of great conversations we could have about that. That would be my first one.
Okay. Well, you did a perfect job. That is all we have time for in our questions round today. Just one wrap-up question, Dara?
Yeah, well, basically, as a kind of a wrap-up, I want to give you just a minute or two to just whatever you want to say, your message, last thing to kind of pitch.
Your last pitch for Shannon.
Yeah.
That's even harder than these questions.
I'm so sorry.
No, I mean, to everybody listening, I hope that you consider your vote carefully. It's a very important election, probably the most important election in Canada in all of our generations. And getting out to vote is so important to exercise your right to vote. We are a democracy. We should not take that for granted. And I really hope to earn all of your support as we progress in this campaign. Election day is April 28th, but you can actually vote any day on Quinpool Road at the elections office, or the advanced polls open on the 18th of April.
Awesome.
And before we cheers, why don't you let the people know what beer you're drinking?
Oh, I'm drinking the Dirty Blonde 9 Locks, just like the color of my hair.
Well, cheers to that. Good luck in your campaign. We really appreciate this.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. And who are we here with?
I'm Lisa Roberts. I'm the NDP candidate in Halifax.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
It's great to be here with you.
All right. So welcome to our show here. We have our bucket of democracy. We're going to dive into that in a minute. But here first, we're just going to go through a few questions that we're asking everyone today. Okay. So question number one, your road into politics. What's your story?
Oh, I'm going to need to condense this.
Okay.
But I'll share that I did the campaign school for women back in 2011. And at that point, I was actually watching a lot of municipal politics in Halifax. That was back in Peter Kelly's time. And I was inspired by the leadership of Jennifer Watts, who at that point was a municipal councillor, and she was just asking good questions and kind of being responsible. And I was also at that point home, having had my second kid in a couple of years, and I had been a journalist, and I was feeling like maybe I had gone down that career path far enough. So yeah, I did the campaign school for women in 2011. That eventually resulted in me supporting Jennifer in her 2012 municipal campaign. I did slowly wean myself off of journalism. And in 2016, I was asked and agreed to run for the NDP in Halifax Needham.
Fascinating.
I remember that, yes.
Okay, so question number two. What are some major objectives that Haligonians need representation for on a federal level?
I mean, for me, housing is just huge. It affects so many people. And, you know, we just saw the opening of the first new co-op building of any size on Maitland Street in Halifax. And I've been lucky to chat with, I think, 4 different households now that are in that building. And it's so transformative. The one young couple I talked with had been moving every 2 years pretty consistently, either because of rent eviction or because of rent increases or, you know, sales of the places that they were renting. And just the sense for them that they can now settle into their life without needing to anticipate finding another home in a couple of years is so huge. So for me, really determined and consistent focus on increasing the housing options for people that are affordable and that are, to a much greater proportion in the public sphere or in the nonprofit sphere, where, you know, the greatest profit isn't always going to be the motivation for the decision of the folks who own the property.
Excellent. Okay, great answer. We can't give a point for that one. We got to.
That's okay.
We're giving points away soon, but we're close.
The points get in from the bucket.
That's still a great answer. Okay. Yes. So, next question: what values do you think you and your party leader align with the most?
I'm sorry, I don't know if I understand the question. Do you mean which values do I
or
share?
Maybe pick a value you really identify with Jagmeet.
Oh yeah. Okay. Thank you. So I've seen Jagmeet talk at on more occasions than most folks about how he just feels deeply that we're all connected. So. And that for me really resonates. And the way I put it in a campaign video that you might have seen is we're all better off when we're all better off. Like my well-being is not disconnected from the well-being of everyone else in my community. And that is true on so many different levels. And it's actually really shown to be true in all kinds of research. The more disconnected we feel, that's not good for our health. There's no individual problem solving our ways out of the housing crisis or the climate crisis. And in fact, connecting with each other and really leaning in on that sense of connection is part of finding the pathway out of the challenges that we face. So yeah, that's definitely, one where I feel like I'm very much in alignment with him, and I feel like that aligns with broader social democratic principles and priorities.
Okay, so we're going to circle around and back a little bit here, but just tell us a little bit more about where you're from.
Yeah, so I actually grew up on the west coast of Newfoundland.
Oh, another Newfoundlander.
Yeah.
How am I gonna vote?
No, so I grew up in Quarter Brook. My parents had met in Labrador City in the 1960s. They got married here in Halifax in the late 1960s. And then I was born in Ottawa, but we moved to Newfoundland, which is where my dad is originally from, in 1975. I was 2. And so I lived in Corner Brook until I was 18. And then I came to Halifax, came to Dal, very much wanting to be in a bigger place than the place where I grew up. And so Halifax was the choice, pretty obviously. And so that's where I'm from. And I was away for 6 years, from 1995 until 2001. I lived for about 2 years in Guatemala.
Oh, cool. That's very cool. Yeah.
About 2 years in Toronto. And
not as cool as Guatemala.
Not as cool, but it was. But I learned some stuff. I got to experience the big city, and then about 2 years kind of split between Newfoundland and other places, and then I very intentionally came back in 2001.
Brilliant.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so last question before we dive into the bucket. Why should folks vote for Lisa? This episode is brought to you by Strategy Up. Strategy Up is a business consulting firm led by Mark Zerka, who has over 20 years' experience in building commercial strategies that will up your game, organize your teams, increase your productivity, and grow your business.
Whether you're a construction company looking to grow your revenue or a busy restaurant owner just trying to keep the doors open, Strategy Up can help. Strategy Up's boutique-style consultations will help you improve business process across nearly any industry.
Being a successful entrepreneur does not mean you have to be an expert in everything. Strategy Up specializes in building a relationship with you. Once pain points in the business are realized, Strategy Up will introduce process and technology that will power up your game to the next level.
A successful business requires investment. Your next step towards growth starts now. Email info@mystrategyup.com for a free business discovery call. Up your game with Strategy Up.
I mean, I feel like I have built a lot of relationships, and with the relationships comes a lot of knowledge about Halifax over more than 10 years. So I was 5 years serving as the MLA for Halifax Needham, but for a number of years before that, I was briefly executive director at Veith House. Before that, I was part-time facilitator of a project called the North End Community Circle. And of course, before that, I was a journalist working for Information Morning at CBC Radio. So I just have put a lot of time in
That's a lot of pulse in your community.
learning about the community, and I have a lot of relationships that I can call on when I'm not certain about like what the right path is, or is this a cause that I want to put a lot of my time behind? I've got a lot of folks in the community that I can check in with to like get a couple different reads on a situation and then figure out like, how can I be helpful? Cause that's kind of what drives me is, I like to be helpful. I like to play a positive role to, resolve issues or make life better for all of us collectively.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, I guess it's time we dive into the bucket.
It's the bucket of democracy time. You did the dun dun dun.
Oh, dun dun dun. I have sound effects on this board. Want to try one?
Nope.
I don't know. I don't know the order of them. Sorry. Let's just continue.
That's why I said
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, but anyway, it's all good. Okay, so this is basically what we do is we give you 10 minutes. We're gonna answer as many questions as you can answer.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And
so I should be
work
fast because I get a point per question answer. So
Yeah.
I shouldn't do essay answers.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Don't
Just answer them all.
Don't give an
Take
incomplete
your time.
answer. but,
Okay,
You
okay.
want people to
I'll be
know your
succinct.
well thought
Yeah.
answers,
Okay.
right?
You can get big points or little points. Not all points are created equal. All right.
All right. You tell me when we're ready to go.
Ready to rock, Matt.
All right. Question number 1. In your opinion, what is the income dollar amount that should be considered in the highest threshold? And what percentage of tax should that be? So like when you think about tax brackets, where should that be now in terms of household income, that highest tax bracket? And what do you think we should be taxed at that highest tax bracket?
Oh my goodness. I mean, my immediate thought is that I think we need to add another tax bracket above the top one, and then tax that one more. I think maybe the highest one. Does the highest one start at 100 or at 100? And I don't actually know exactly.
It's not. It's 100, and the highest tax was
25?
126 or 127 or something like
Okay.
that. I think is what it is. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my immediate thought is like, I think we probably need another one above that and go harder on that.
All right.
All right.
That is an answer, and that is a point.
We give a point. Sounds
Yeah.
good. Okay, next question. Should the federal government prioritize a pipeline feeding into Nova Scotia, and why? Or why not?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm more sold on the idea that actually I saw Jug Meat talking about in the immediate aftermath of Trump's first set of threats. Who can keep track?
Yeah.
Which is of an east-west electricity grid.
Okay.
Yeah, because we know that a lot of the currently a lot of like hydroelectric energy flows south
Right.
into the United States, and that is the lowest carbon electricity that we have available to us easily, or at least for base load, in addition to solar and wind. And we haven't gotten the Atlantic Loop done, but maybe if this was part of more of a nation building project, where it's not so dependent on just like one region coming together, but actually the whole country coming together, I can get more excited about that. The pipeline, I've heard a lot of different things about the economics, and I'm not convinced.
Okay. No, that's fair. That's an answer. And you know what? I never actually heard about this east to west like energy
Yeah.
grid, and I actually don't hate that idea. I want to read
I
more
get the
about
point.
that.
I like different ideas. Awesome.
Yeah, I like it.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
Whoops. There you go. Throwing things around.
No bonus points now, man. You're throwing questions out of the bucket.
All right. So, what would your government's, if you formed government, obviously, what would your government's anti-racism strategy be?
Whew. Wow. That does not seem like a short question.
It's not.
That does not seem like an answer that I could give a short answer to. I will say that part of what makes the NDP special is our intentional our intentional diversification of our own caucus. And, you know, obviously, like Jagmeet Singh is the only racialized national leader we've always had. But also, if you look across the country at our candidates and also at our members of parliament, where the NDP is more diverse than the other parties, and so for me, that's really a thing that you have to work on with people. It's not, you know, Lisa Roberts' idea of, you know, how do you attack or, you know, address racism, but certainly thinking about it in terms of economics for me is really important, because when you think about how Canada was settled and how we got to our present day, there were a lot of moments along the way when either racialized people or Indigenous people were disadvantaged, were exploited, were left out. You know, when you think about the particular ways that Nova Scotia was settled in terms of who got land grants and who didn't, and, you know, who got secure title and who didn't. And so there's a lot of economic redress that needs to happen. And I've been really excited about the organizing efforts, particularly amongst the African Nova Scotian community around community land trusts, which is a neat way of recognizing that community economic development can happen, and ownership of property can happen in a way that benefits community in the long run, as well as the individuals, which is much more, I guess, aligned with my values than seeing property and, you know, the fact that you end up with a little piece of Mi'kma'ki, and then you end up with all the benefit of like the increasing property values. And how? Because you built the land? Oh no, you didn't build the land. You know, like houses and buildings actually fall, you know, like they're like any other thing that is built. They depreciate over time, and yet their value keeps going up, and that's because of the land. Right. And so for me, thinking about how do we redistribute land or reimagine how we treat land is pretty fundamental.
That's a tough question, but I think you gave us a real necessary first step. That's a
good answer too. Yeah, really good answer. And I also like the fact that, because like I had this discussion with my wife on the weekend, that you can't necessarily legislate people into not being racist, right? You have to just keep educating, right? And like you said, like lead by example.
Yeah.
Okay. Transgendered categories in sports seem to have many different points of view. How do you feel sport organizations should handle this sensitive topic?
Oh my goodness. So first of all, well, maybe this will just be my whole answer. I sort of don't accept the premise of the question, in that really this is a non-issue, or like such a vanishingly small issue that has gotten a huge amount of attention because men want to use it to divide us. And when you talk to women who are involved in sport, they're like, we've got a lot of issues, you know, equal pay, equal playing time, equal media profile, like equal access to coaching resources. Like there are so many issues for women in sport. This is not one. Okay. And I've gotten to a point in my understanding of the transphobia that we see, where I really just reject that there is any legitimate issue there. It is just being used as a wedge, and I just full on reject it as transphobia.
I'm giving you the point on that.
That's
one.
a great question.
I like the answer.
Yeah, good answer.
All right,
your turn.
All right, next question. Canada is experiencing a drug toxicity crisis that is being fueled by synthetic opioids like fentanyl. What is one step we hope we can take to remedy this? So what's something we can do to help with the drug crisis in Canada?
Oh my goodness. People die because we don't have a safe supply of drugs. And I feel like there's complexity in how we produce and distribute and replace unsafe drugs with safer drugs. That I don't feel like I'm the best prepared to respond to, but I know, and I'm just immediately, my mind and my heart, my eyes are just immediately going to a funeral that my partner and I attended for the kid of somebody we worked with, and I just know that I wish he was alive.
Yeah,
I just wish he was alive.
Yeah. No.
So.
That's fair. That's fair. And that's the thing. I think some of that stuff could be rolled out a little bit better. I know I watched something about some of the stuff in Vancouver where it was not like the promise that was made for these houses to be safe was not delivered. Yeah. I don't know who's responsible for it. So it's not like a dig at any particular government at all. I literally don't know who. I saw this and someone went in and they wore like secret cameras and went in there and these clean, safe places didn't look clean or safe. Oh. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. But it is scary. It does feel, I would like to hear someone else address this question because,
these questions all go back. So there's some of them are heavy.
Like they're kind of all over the place.
That was the whole point of it. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, yeah. The questions are meant to be
all over.
They're pulled from a million different places. We spend a lot of time finding Canadian questions right across the country. So these are questions Canadians are asking, right? Okay. Not all of them are questions that everybody likes.
Okay,
no, that's true. But we can do at least one more.
Okay, we got one more. Yeah.
So. Who do you think Canada can seek out as other trade partners if the relationship with the USA continues down the same path that it's on?
So, ourselves is what I would say. The last 2 years that I was working before this election, I was executive director of a nonprofit called Nourish Nova Scotia. And one of the projects that I got to work on there was the establishment of something called the Halifax Regional Food Hub, which is, I understand, like currently under development, but it's been incorporated as a cooperative, and I understand that they've hired their first, general manager or executive director. And the idea with that food hub is to create a place where food producers, like farmers and food producers from mainland Nova Scotia, can drop off their goods and then have the food hub get those goods the last mile to the back doors of kitchens or, the loading docks of stores that sell local wares or nonprofit organizations that constantly, need groceries and don't want to be sending their staff out shopping with flyers, or schools or the Nova Scotia Community College. And so I think there's I appreciate the reaction, by Canadian, but we've really undervalued the power of local markets and circular economies, which allow our money to circulate in a more regional way. And so I'm excited to see the kind of community economic development potential that we can get some more energy behind, so that we can be buying from ourselves. Obviously that's not going to be a full piece of the answer, but I hope that it doesn't get lost.
No, you're right on par. A previous question we drew with another guest was the interprovincial trade and localizing stuff. So you're right on that same page of So that's brilliant. Yeah, we're with that.
All right.
Awesome.
Cool.
Very much with that.
How many points did I get?
Take a breathe. I didn't count. So we didn't count the last one. We were going to tally them up at the end. Points really don't matter.
Okay.
6 still.
Okay.
So I think you're right on par pretty well with the
Okay.
last guest. So
Okay.
it doesn't matter one way or another.
Didn't speak too long.
They were
No.
6 very well answered
They were
questions.
very, you know what?
Have
And
solace in that,
not,
right?
not just well answered, but like
Honest.
well, very honest,
what
but
I
also unique. Like answers that, you know, sometimes you get people who pick a certain lane on certain topics, and these were some ones that were, it was, you know, you offered some things that I had not heard before, so
Cool.
that's really good.
Thanks.
It's a good thing to
So
consider.
just wrapping up now.
Yeah.
We're all done.
Yes.
The hard
Okay.
part's over.
The hard part's over.
Right.
So
Now I might have that pint. No,
Yeah, you said you were a Red fan.
I do like a red.
Okay.
I do like a red.
any beer in particular you like, you know, of in Nova Scotia?
I mean, I've had the Garrison red.
Perfect. Garrison Red's a very popular choice.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the best. Yeah. So cheers to you.
Thank
Wait,
you.
Oh, sorry.
She gets a wrap up.
You get a wrap up. I'm so sorry. Anything you'd like to say about folks voting for you in this election?
Yeah, this is your time.
To help.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I just want people to remember that in Halifax, we had NDP members of parliament for a full, 18 years, right up until the Trudeau government. So Alexa McDonough, famous, iconic, and Megan Leslie.
Megan was great.
Megan was so great. Megan was so great.
I think she actually won most popular MP one year or something like that.
And she won like best rookie MP.
Yeah.
She won all kinds of things.
Yeah.
No, she was fantastic. And, Megan and Alexa both were really amazing representatives of Halifax. And they were also really important parliamentarians for speaking to issues and, championing causes. And so I hope people remember that this is not just a competition for who is the prime minister, but it's like, who's going to speak for your community? Who's going to use their voice in parliament? Who can we elect that we'll be able to reach out to, that we'll be able to work with? It's a long relationship between that person and Halifax. And I hope that people will be excited, as I am, to have me step into their shoes and try to really play that role. So
Wonderful. Well, cheers to you, Lisa.
Cheers to you, yeah.
thank you.
Good luck on the campaign. I know it's not
Appreciate it.
easy. It's tough.
I appreciate it. Nice to meet you both.
Yes, absolutely. Take care. Well, unfortunately, Matt, it appears that Mark Boudreau can't be here. I know you and I both made ample attempts in every way and platform possible. Maybe just explain a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of felt that the show was going to be incomplete without having a conservative candidate here. I know I probably text him almost every day, or at least every second day. We did try to move around the schedule a little bit, but looks like I couldn't make the time to come over here to record with us. But we have two really great candidates that gave us some great answers.
Absolutely, right. I appreciate the time of both the Liberal and the NDP party. I feel, Matt, like we really got some honest answers. I felt there was I think you said something really, really great about the NDP and the tremendous amount of heart.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the two things that you take away. I mean, neither is really good answers in terms of like good or bad, but I think our Liberal candidate gave us some really intelligent, like mind thoughtful answers, and our NDP candidate gave us some really heartfelt, passionate answers.
Absolutely.
So very different, but whatever resonates with the listeners, I think you're going to get two very good answers from those people.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, Matt. So I guess if you're still listening at this point, I sincerely hope you get out there and vote and help support. Maybe encourage a friend to vote, a neighbor, someone who says they don't vote, they don't get into politics, and twist their arm and say, it's a really good time to start.
Yeah,
Right.
whoever you vote for, just get out there and exercise that vote.
Well, Matt, cheers to you, brother, on another fun, successful bucket of democracy.
Cheers.
On to the next one, man. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to The Afternoon Pint. We are an independent podcast and we need your support. Please take a moment to hit that like, follow, and share button. Email us if you have an idea or suggestion for the show. Please send your feedback. We'd love to hear from you.